It's Cardboard Time episode number 1, and I'm your host, Arwen Cathke. On today's episode, I have reviews of Pilgrims, Curious Adventures, as well as High Society. Hopefully everyone returning from Gen Con gets home safe. That is not me. I actually just got back home from seeing my parents in Buffalo. I got to take Charlie, our dog, with me, and it was quite the adventure for him, since he had never been out of the state before. So it was a lovely trip to see my parents, and I just picked up my wife, Allie, from the airport. She was at Gen Con, so she did get home safe, and hopefully you all do too if you were there, and hopefully had a great time as well. Let's check in on the Shelf of Aspiration, and this does not include anything coming in from Gen Con, but it is at 1. That is up by 2 since we last talked, and quite the update. 21 games coming in. Quite a few of them I have played already, though. From crowdfunding, I had Queen of Spies. This was a Liz Davidson solo game, and I have had quite a bit of fun with it so far. I am looking forward to talking about it soon. Mystic Curling Club, I have not been able to table yet, but that came in. I'm really looking forward to such a uniquely themed game and checking that out. Cascadia Alpine Lakes, I have played, I think, 4 games of this already so far, and I did get to play it while I was out in Seattle last year in a very early prototype form as well. Forage and Honeypot, I've already talked about on the show, so you know that I already have seen them, and yeah, you can go back to the episode and hear my thoughts on both of those. And then 20 Strong, the Aetherfields, Tainted Grail, and Nemesis decks came in as well. And Aetherfields and Tainted Grail, I did get an opportunity to play both of those. And then the Nemesis deck, I actually got to demo when I was at GAM. From a purchase side of things, I went to Critical Hits, kind of flea market that they had, and I did purchase quite a few games from there, including Riverside, it's Roll and Write, Cities, Blob Party, I have played before, Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 1. I've started to kind of keep my eye out for the rest of the Unmatched series and where I can get a good deal. I'm starting to pick up some of those and build out my collection of them because I really love the Ninja Turtles version of that, and I want to see how some of these other sets play as well. Mission Control Critical Orbit, this is a game that I've wanted to try for quite a while, and when I can get a good deal, I definitely want to check that out. And then finally, the last thing from that sale was Pan Am, and this is a game that I have heard quite a bit about from the Board Game Hot Takes crew, and decided to kind of make a blind purchase considering their feedback. So I'm hoping that it's really good and that I can get it to the table very soon. Nico Syndicate was a game that I bought while I was out in Omaha and did not mention on the show, but I did get a chance to table that. A very interesting engine building, kind of cascading engine that you're creating game, and I have had a ton of fun playing that solo. Looking forward to getting that to the table with more people. I did finally buy Finspan as well as the Sharks and Reefs expansion. I did have some credit that I needed to use up at Critical Hit, and Finspan was on my radar for a while. Crafting the Cosmos and Challengers were both games that were on sale that I decided to finally pick up. They were the right price for me, so I picked up both of those. And then 2 freebies came into the collection. I did talk about those on the OGC episode, being Senjutsu, Battle for Japan, and Power Grid Outpost. Neither of them I've gotten to the table yet. And from the played column, Queen of Spies, was definitely one that I've gotten to the table. Azure, I talked about briefly on the OGC episode. High Society, I will be talking about on this episode. Riverside, I've gotten a few plays of that in solo, as well as Nico Syndicate and Seven Islands. Cascadia Alpine Lakes, I already talked about. Cities, I did get in on BGA. I have not gotten a physical play of Cities in yet. I already talked about the 220 strong decks that came to the table. And then finally, Fossilis, I finally got to the table after a number of years of having it in my collection. And I am very intrigued by this game. I feel like nobody's talking about it, or very few people are talking about it, and it is very underrated. I had a blast playing this game, and part of it is that little kid factor of getting to dig up dinosaur bones and shift these physical pieces out on a plastic board, but it's just a lot of fun and a lot of interesting choices that you get to make mechanically in that game. So definitely one that I want a couple more plays in. I will be talking about that probably before the year is up, but if you've got a chance to play it, take a look at it. It's quite the sleeper hit, in my opinion. Let's talk about the two reviews that we're going to do for today. And the first one is Pilgrims Curious Adventures. This is a 2025 release, 1 to 4 players, plays in 45 minutes, designed by Radim Herda. And the artist is also Radim Herda. And this is published by Pink Troubadour and Valor Mountain Games. Embark on a journey through a fairy tale land as a wanderer seeking new experiences. A competitive family game where players collect useful items, meet unusual friends, and experience numerous adventures. Become the most seasoned wanderer with sleeves full of the best stories, the star of every campfire gathering. Based on the video game of the same name by Aminata Design, Pilgrims will speak to all its fans. The game is played over 4 rounds and is built around a movement puzzle mechanic where each turn presents a small riddle, how to best combine your party's movement abilities to navigate the map and collect the right cards. The players try to complete as many adventure cards as possible and gain victory points. These points symbolize the fame and wealth, both material and spiritual, that their group has acquired. Each player will move their piece across the map to collect items and gain new companions for their group, and by successfully combining their character and item cards, they can trigger additional actions. The collected items and companions will then be used to complete adventure cards. Each completed adventure rewards the player with victory points and a permanent upgrade that will help them throughout the game. The player with the most victory points at the end of the 4th round wins. So first of all, thanks to Chris High and Valor Mountain Games for letting me take a look at this game. I did get an opportunity to play this at Origins, and then I got sent home with a copy to also take a look at. So I really enjoyed the action selection mechanic in this game, and I think that's really what stands out to me the most in this. Each round you're going to have 3 of 4 movement options that you'll be selecting from, but you can't repeat any of them. So you have 4 on your board, you're going to be covering them up as you use them, and therefore you can't repeat any that you've already used. In addition to that, you're going to have the ability to give up one of the item cards that you have and basically give it to your companion that they want it in order to facilitate another action, which means most of the time you're going to have the ability to not only get the card that you want, but sometimes get multiple cards that you want, but it might take you a bit of effort and thought and planning to get there, and that's really where that puzzle element really comes in. In addition, you're going to be completing those adventure cards, which are not only just giving you points, but also building up your engine and giving you those permanent abilities to use. They're going to be anywhere from small little things that are going to trigger when you take a certain action to basically all the time you're going to get this permanent boost, depending on how hard it is to complete that card. So the core gameplay loop of the game was pretty satisfying to me. It was easy to teach to others. And I really think that this is a game that's best targeted towards families. The engine building is relatively simple. I will say that by the time that I got my engine off the ground, in most games, the game was over. I do think that's a good thing for a younger audience, as they don't have to manage anything that's really too complex. But if you're going to be playing with a bunch of really in-depth, heavier gamers, that might be something that you want to keep into consideration, in that engine not getting too big and too complex and cascading a lot. While I haven't played the video game, I really liked how the theme translated over from what I was able to tell between the video game and the tabletop game when I did a bit of research. It does feel like that similar kind of vibe did exist between the two, and I really love the artwork. I think the artwork was really cute in this. From a solo perspective, this game plays very well. The upkeep on the solo bot is a very quick detour, and then you're right back to playing your turn. And in fact, that was one of the most preferred ways that I played this game, was going in and playing it solo. So I really did enjoy playing that quite a bit. The solo bot does get in your way. It does provide a challenge, but it's easy on the upkeep, and that's what I really, when it comes to a solo bot in a game. From a vision and accessibility standpoint, all the cards are double-coated. The meeples are shaped differently, so there's no issues with telling them apart. I did have some very small issues telling the blue and the purple solo components apart. Those are just used for scoring. I think that would be very easily solvable from putting some very small marks on them. So I think you would have a very easy time getting those and modifying them. So in summary, I think that this game is a great pickup for those of you with families out there. It's a very nice way to teach some basic engine building to the younger crowd. It's going to be enough of a game to keep your hobbyists engaged with them. It's probably not going to be heavy enough for those who really want a meatier game, but for somebody who wants to play something that's satisfying with their family, whether it's their kids, whether it's somebody that's not as engaged in the hobby, I think between the theme, the artwork, and the gameplay being very easy to teach, this is going to be one that could get out on the table with a lot of families or lighter gaming groups. I'm looking forward to this coming out for people to check out very soon. It is supposed to hit store shelves very soon after this podcast releases, and that is Pilgrims Curious Adventures. The other game that I did want to talk about was High Society, and this came out in 1995. So a classic game from 3 to 5 players, plays in 15 to 30 minutes, designed by Dr. Rainer Knizia. The art is by Marie Bergeron, and this version was published by Allplay. It has been published by a ton of different publishers in the past. This one was by Allplay. In Rainer Knizia's High Society, all players bid against each other to acquire the various trappings of wealth, which are positive number and multiplier cards, while avoiding its pitfalls, which are negative number and divisor cards. While bidding, though, keep an eye on your remaining cash at the end of the game. Even though all those positive number cards might add up to a win, the player with the least money isn't even considered for a victory. So thank you to Allplay for the review copy of this. I have heard so much about this game over the years. When I heard that the game was coming back and I saw that Allplay had review copies available, I did want to check out a copy of this. And again, thanks to Allplay for the copy. This is a pretty basic auction game at heart, but I think that the twists are really what make it. So first of all, there's regular auctions that you're going to be bidding in. Every player is going to have the same deck of cards that they start off with, different numerical values on them that increase. And there's regular auctions that you're going to be bidding on that give the player who stays in the bidding the longest positive points at the end of the game. But their money cards that they bid on the auction, they have to spend. Everybody else gets their auction cards back. Fairly standard. Here's where the twists start coming in. There's scandals, which are various negative auctions that cost the player in different ways, where the first player to pass will be able to pull their money back, but have to take some sort of negative effect. And then the rest of the players who stayed in the auction, they all have to pay what they had bid. The person who spent the most money at the end of the game becomes ineligible to win, which creates this kind of mind game with yourself in thinking about how much you've spent and what you're going to try targeting, picking up, or avoiding, because you don't want to spend too much money. You think I might be close, so I have to hold off, when in reality, you've got a lot of runway. You're absolutely fine. So it's this mind game that you play with yourself. The game immediately ends when the fourth dark background status card come out, which this is going to allow players to have somewhat of a imperfect in-game timer. So as they see these cards coming out, they will know that the game is progressing and coming further and further along to a close. It allows for a lot of replay because you get to see these different situations where these cards don't come up quickly, or you could get 4 of them in a row, or you might get the first 3 very quickly and then the fourth one hardly, it's all the way in the back of the deck. So having that kind of imperfect timer in there is really cool. It's something that influences everybody's bidding, but at the same time, there's other players that hold out, basically saying, oh, I can hold out, that fourth one won't come out very soon. And then finally, the cards that you're using to bid vary in currency, which means when you get later in the game, you can be forced to step up your bid to a level that you really don't want to go to, as you don't have a small enough increment card to raise that bid just slightly instead of having to go this huge increment. So depending on how bad you really want that card, that's how you're going to have to manage that, and you're going to have to manage with the cards that you still have left in your hand. So I think that the way that these all work together in harmony really makes for a very satisfying game, and it holds up 30 years after this first release, because if you look at it, 1995, 31 years since this first got published, and in my opinion, there's been tweaks to it, there's been minor modifications, but this game still holds up to this day. I like this game better with more players. The 4 to 5 count was more ideal for me than 3, because it gets more players involved in the bidding, it gets more interaction, which is really the charm of this game. I've heard it most often compared to games like For Sale and Modern Art. I really think that this game stands on its own as its own thing. That it's really just a unique combination of mechanisms that are all put together and just work so well in harmony with each other. And then from a vision and accessibility standpoint, everything's double coded, so no issues with this. Very well produced and very easy to see the iconography on here, so that it wasn't a issue. So for my final thoughts, while there might have been other auction games that have come along since, I've played quite a few of them, from For Sale, Modern Art, Medici, you name them. I've played a ton of them. I think that this is a fantastic step up for people from a game like For Sale. I love For Sale to teach to very basic players who are just stepping into the hobby, don't know a lot about the hobby yet, and they can really sink their teeth into something a little bit more meatier. This is that next step up, and it's easy enough to teach them with a few little wrinkles that get thrown in that really make things interesting, and that's why I really like this as kind of that next step up. And it's Still very engaging for everybody that's at the table, so your more experienced players are still going to love this as well. This is absolutely sticking around in my collection. I'm sad that it took this long to play it, and I'm looking forward to sharing this game with more people as we get deeper into the convention season. I will be bringing this to various events I go to because I have really enjoyed playing this game, and I'd like more people to know about it. It's a classic, and sometimes you have to go back to those classic games, get them back out to the table again, and show people that stuff still holds up to this day. That's high society. And I think that'll do it for us today. If you want more information on Cardboard Time, you can always go to the website at cardboardtime.com. You can go to our Instagram at cardtime. The Blue Sky is at time. The Discord is on the Tabletop Express server. You can always email me or go to the website for an invite. Lovely community there. And any questions, suggestions, or ideas for discussion topics, you can email cardboardtime@gmail.com with any of those. For the LGBTQ plus community, things are definitely tough right now, but the world is absolutely better with you in it. And as always, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you around the table in 2 weeks for another episode of Cardboard Time.